We'll start with the courts and, well, former President John Dramani Mahama has arrived, and as you see in the pictures on your screen, has arrived at the Supreme Court for the commencement of hearing on the election 2020 petition he filed against the Electoral Commission and President Akufo-Addo, as well as the Electoral Commission. John Mahama and the NDC, or John Mahama, is contesting what he calls a flawed election and demanding a legal probe into the allegations against the Electoral Commission and the declaration of Akufo-Addo as President of Ghana. The proceeding is expected to be telecast live as the court has granted this request to put the proceedings live on television. Our court correspondent Joseph Akabile will join us with a bit more on this matter. As and when we do get him, we will raise him so he can brief us in terms of what's happening in the court. But news is that the proceeding is beginning today. The court has allowed the proceeding to be telecast live on television. So we will definitely be letting you in on how things unfold in the court today. Rather quickly, I'll tell you the first issue that the court is expected to be dealing with. It's the adjudication of the presidential petition, of course. But first, John Dramani Mahama's lawyers want to make a correction in the petition that they had filed. And that's the matter that the court is expected to make a determination on today. We do not know the composition of the panel yet, so a lot will unfold today in terms of the composition of the panel that will deal with this matter of the election petition. Whether or not it will be a full panel of 9 or it will be less than that, we will get a lot more understanding when the proceedings begin. When we get our court correspondent Joseph Akabile, we will certainly raise him on the line for him to give us more on this matter. But the challenge, of course, is the declaration of President Akufo-Addo as the winner of the 2020 president election and the second presidential election petition. Of course, this is the second of its kind in our country. We witnessed the 2012-2013 petition. In that case, of course, the court did not overturn the results declared by the Electoral Commission. So very interesting times that we're in. We will be giving you a lot more when we do find. But right now, what we do know is that the petitioner, John Mahama, is in court with his lawyers. Well, moving on, the West Memphis Municipal Security Council has called on the Interior Ministry to intervene in the ongoing fight against armed robbery in the area. The council at a meeting Wednesday unanimously appealed to the Interior Ministry to, as a matter of urgency, provide the police service with personnel and vehicles and other resources to help the security services to effectively and efficiently confront the activities and operations of the robbers. Chairman of the council, Aremeyao Somolaki, noted improvements in the general security situation in the municipality compared to previous years, but said armed robbery continues to be the #1 security challenge. The meeting comes amidst an ongoing manhunt operation for 6 suspected robbers who had allegedly carried out a coordinated robbery operation on the 2 major highways in the municipality.
The West Memphis municipality has been a hotspot for robbery attacks for many years, with 2 cases already recorded this year. 6 armed men hijacked the Wale-Wale-Nalirge Highway and the Bolika Highway respectively on the same day of January 1st and robbed tons of cash from travelers and motorists. A combined team of police, military and personnel of the counter-terrorism unit launched a manhunt for the suspects. At the Municipal Security Council meeting, the Wale-Wale District Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Samuel Yebua, provides updates on the operation.
Information that some are living in a certain village. I forgot the village name. But when we moved on to that village, we met a certain canoe operator who crossed those 2 before. And he got to know later that they were robbers. He crossed them after the act. They went to that village, and one canoe operator crossed that 2 robbers over the river to the river bank. And so later he got to know that no, the people he crossed there had robbed at
Yes,
yeah. So we are still hunting for them or looking for them.
The police commander revealed that the police in the district, which is also overseeing the Mamprugu Muaduri district, has only 2 vehicles and less than 70 personnel, which according to him is woefully inadequate to tackle the kind of robbery attacks happening in the area.
We need vehicle and we need personnel so that information as well for us to move out immediately in respect of that. Now, sometimes when we have enough men and with the vehicle on our roads, I think the work will not be too difficult for the men because it will be handing over and taking over. When they work from morning to afternoon, personnel can continue from afternoon to the evening by 10 p.m. and from 10 to the following morning. 8 hours as a labor law, 8 hours working period. If it happens for us to also get saved, then I think the commander and the men can be up and doing and settling the whole system.
The commander, among other things, called for the institution of additional measures in order to fight the menace, including the establishment of a high court in the municipality. He also advised opinion leaders, especially politicians, to stop meddling in robbery investigations and asked residents to trust and collaborate with the police to protect them.
My few advice to municipal people in the Walwali Municipal is that they should have trust in police, and they should also volunteer to give us reliable information for police to act on.
The municipal chief executive and chairman of the Security Council conceded that the low level of personnel and inadequate vehicles for patrols could largely be blamed for the police's continued inability to combat robbery operations in the area.
We have made appeal through the Ministry of Interior to the IGP about the low level of personnel in West Memphis. Because as we speak, according to the information I had from my district police command, they have less than 70 personnel. And it is the same personnel that I'm taking care of Mamprugu Muaduri district. We have so many stations that are supposed to be there. Some have to work in the banks. So it is very difficult.
Nonetheless, the MC assured residents that government was working strenuously through his office to maintain safe and conducive environment. Ilyas Sutanko reporting for JoyNews.
Well, Commonwealth Hall residents, both old and current, are marching to the Great Hall in protest of plans by some lecturers to stop the construction of its next project. JoyNews' Kweku Asante is on that beat. He joins us live with more. Kweku, what is currently happening where you are? Hello, Kweku Asante.
Right, Mama V, the march to the Great Hall has just ended. The residents of Commonwealth, both old and new, have just returned from the Great Hall to the current site where I am currently, which is part of the site for the construction of the Commonwealth Hall Annex facility. And let me give viewers a brief background to this story. So in 2018, some old vandals, together with some private entities, got some partnership to construct a 4,660 bed facility to augment the accommodation facility on campus. The University of Ghana every year has a huge deficit of accommodation challenge that they are unable to get a number of beds for its students. And so the old vandals thought it wise that if we can get a private facility to augment the current bed stock on campus, it will be very important. So they started this project, and whilst just before the process was beginning to comment, some lecturers sent a letter to the Vice Chancellor saying that they had some issues with the construction of the project because they think that the project will destroy the ecosystem. They say that the project, they think, would distract the unique architecture of the hall. Of course, they also say that the University of Ghana has some problems dealing with Commonwealth Hall, who are just a little above 1,000. And so if you're going to construct a 4,000 bed capacity hostel and add them to the stock, then you will have a big challenge trying to deal with them. So they sent a letter to the Vice Chancellor. Officially, the university did not communicate to the public what happened to that petition in 2019, December 2019. But few days ago, construction workers moved to this site trying to work and clear the land for other companies to come in to construct the 4,660 bed hostel. And as you can see in your shot, construction materials, you can see articulators, you can see tipper trucks, you can see sound trucks and all those things already on site trying to commence work on the land. And so just when the project was about to start again, another group of lecturers have petitioned management again over the same concerns that they raised in 2019, saying that they want management to put a stop to the project until their concerns are addressed. Well, they don't have any problem if the annex facility is constructed at another place as against this present site. But the students, both old and new, in Commonwealth Hall, the hall, as you can see in your shot, are not happy at all with the decision to do that. And so today, they embarked on a walk to the Great Hall, where the Vice Chancellor's office is and other management of the university is, trying to say that they hope management listens to them and rescind the decision, as it were, to halt construction. Yeah, we spoke to some of them, and they've been telling us that the reasons that were ascribed by some lecturers in support of their letter to the Vice Chancellor saying the construction work should stop are frivolous and has no basis. And so the Vice Chancellor must proceed together with management to dismiss it and not pay any attention to them. It is yet to be seen what the Vice Chancellor and his team will do to that petition. Mama V.
So, Kweku Asante, were the presence of other school authorities today as the march went on?
Right, so it's possible that the convocation meeting that the members of the lecturers have requested is actually going to be today or the very next days ahead of us, because more university officials were seen moving to the Great Hall. I don't know if it's a meeting about this particular issue or another issue that the university is facing or the university is discussing. And so university officials are around. The Vice Chancellor, we are told, is on campus. We are told that the registrar is also around, and other very senior members of the university. They're all around in their offices at the Great Hall, where they are dealing with other matters that faces the university. But none of them came to meet the protesters to listen to them about what their concerns are. We were told that the protesters are going to present a petition, but that did not happen. We did not see anybody with a petition for management of the university to come down to receive them and take the petition and act upon it. And so we are expecting that these students, together with the old vandals, the old residents of Commonwealth, will use other means to transmit their grievances to the Vice Chancellor and other members of the university leadership, for them to understand that they want this annex facility, the 4,660 bed facility, to commence, so that by the next 1 year, the project can be completed for students to inhabit, so that the accommodation challenges that this university faces could be addressed.
So, just a bit of clarification. Who is funding the project solely? Is this something that the old student intend to get their monies back? How is the deal? Explain.
Right, so the old vandals, together with a private company, KPMM and Agvest Ghana Limited, that is KPMM Civils Limited and Agvest Ghana Limited, came together to vote $42 million for this project. It is sort of a public-private partnership. So when this hostel facility is constructed, it will be expected that the university will manage part of the hall, as well as the old vandals, together with their partners, will also manage part of the hall to be able to recoup the investment that they've made into the construction of the hostel facility. And so, but what we have understood from the old vandals is that this is not so much of a private development where they are looking so much at profit. What they are looking at is to be able to get the university enough beds to be able to take care of the number of students they admit. And so whilst they'll be looking forward to recoup the investment they make in it, they will not be looking forward to make any abnormal profits as in terms of what a private company would have done. And so the university is not voting funds personally or the whole, but the Old Vendors Association, together with its partners, Acvest Ghana Limited, KPMM Civils Limited, are voting this $42 million to be able to undertake the project. Okay,
just finally before you go, wasn't there a contract signed? So why did the project start and then it's just been stopped along the line? What was agreed in terms of the contractual agreement? Didn't they sign any documents?
Right, so documents were signed actually, and the Vice Chancellor was actually the one who cast sword for the construction of this hostel, of this hall, the Commonwealth Hall Annex project. And according to him, he was very satisfied with all the processes leading to this. And so the concerns that these lecturers are raising so far has nothing to do with the contractual details in terms of the amount that is being voted for the project or how it's going to be managed afterwards. They are saying they are looking at the ecosystem of this place. They are saying that if you build this hostel here, it will distort the ecosystem. You are going to cut down trees. It probably disturb the lecturers and other people who live around. And so those are the concerns they raise. They don't go straight into the very specific matters that are in the contract itself, the 42 million. They don't seem to have any problem with it, or at least they've not publicly come out to say that they have a problem with this or that. And so they're only raising other secondary matters like the ecosystem of this place, like the sanitation of the place, like the noise pollution levels. Those are the secondary matters that these lecturers who have concerns about the construction of this annex facility are raising.
Kweku, we'll leave it here. Thanks for following up on this issue. If there is any development in the future, trust that my colleague Kweku Asante will be reporting for us live from the University of Ghana, Legon. Now let's go back to the 2020 petition. There's been some development. Remember that John Dramani Mahama and his lawyers have been in court this morning to deal with a motion for amendment. They say they wanted to make some corrections on the reliefs that they are seeking, and the court has granted that relief to amend the process. They've got up to 4 p.m. today. My colleague Joseph Akablay is live from the court. Joseph, what exactly has the court granted?
You're live.
Joseph, yes indeed, you're live with me. Tell us what the court has granted in terms of the request, the motion for amendment that John Dramani Mahama's lawyers put forward.
The leader of the legal was correct mistake.
Joseph Akablay.
Mr. Mahama and the investor.
Joseph Akablay, if you can hear me, you have to reposition yourself. We cannot hear you quite clearly. Joseph Akablay is our court correspondent. He's got the very latest from the Supreme Court on this election petition. He joins us. Let's try and see if we can hear you clearer now, Joseph. Hello, Joseph. Okay, so we've just lost Joseph Akablay. He will join us again so he can give us a lot more. But let me just try and explain, what has essentially happened today as John Dramani Mahama and his lawyers sought to correct an error in one of the reliefs in which he inadvertently referred to the EC, the first respondent, instead of President Akufo. Okay, let's listen to Akablay now.
Particular error, and so we allowed him to correct that particular mistake. Then, after that issue had been dealt with, they now allowed Mr. Mahama's lawyers to file the amended petition. They should file it by close of day today. Then lawyers for Mr. Akufo-Addo can also file the amended responses by close of day tomorrow. Then the case comes back on Tuesday, the 19th of January for continuation.
Joseph, if you can hear me, there's also a composition of that panel. Can you take us through the names?
Yes, so I can run you through the panel. It has Chief Justice Kwesi Eninyebwa as the presiding judge. There is also Justices Paman So there's also just a second. I'll just run you through the list shortly. So first, it has the Chief Justice Kwesi Niniabua as the presiding judge. The other judge in orders of seniority, there is also Puaman, there is Apel, there is Mafusau, there is Nene Amegacha, and there is also Justice Tokonu. So those are the judges who are here in this particular matter.
So this is a 7-member panel, not a full 9-member panel.
Yes, that is it's a 7-member panel that is hearing the case. So let me just run you through the list once again. So there's Chief Justice Kwesi Niniabua, there's Yao Apel, there's Nena Magacha, there's Professor Kote, Mariam Owusu, and Tokonu.
Okay, great.
Making a 7.
All right. I know you've been interacting with both lawyers on both sides. When I say both sides, the John Mahama's camp and Akufo-Addo's camp. I would let you explain to us what they've been saying, but take us through the lawyers for each side. Who is where? And so
first, the point that lawyers for Mr. Mahama made was to the effect that they were surprised that the Electoral Commission opposed their request to make the changes, and they say that the EC displayed incompetence in that it is clear that it's a petition they were seeking to amend and not a writ. And so that particular thing that they were opposing, they didn't understand why they were making that opposition. And so that was the point that they made there. In terms of the legal team for Mr. Akufo-Addo, they insist that this is a case that is starts on the fact that there is a mistake that needs to be corrected, and the mistake that the EC has made is a substantive issue that they've brought to the court that they are seeking to challenge. And so they make the point that it is a reminder that Mr. Mahama's team must concede and be kind to the Electoral Commission when they make mistakes, because not only have they made a mistake in the petition, they've also made a mistake in seeking to correct that particular mistake. And so that was the point that lawyers for Mr. Akufo-Addo made in open court and made in that particular interview they had with us as well.
Okay. Joseph, who are the lead for lawyers for the three parties?
And so in terms of the lead lawyers, there's Justin Amenuvo for the Electoral Commission. Mr. Mahama's legal team is led by Tony Letha, and it's Sachuchi Kata as the lead counsel, actually, with Tony Letha as a member of the legal team. And in terms of the President's legal team, there is Akotampa, who is leading. There is also Frank Davis Yaopon, who is also part of this legal team, and Kweku Esilfi, who is also another member of the legal team. And so that makes up the team that is being heard. What the court is doing is that they are limiting the team to 4. And so including the lead counsel, you should be just 4. You cannot be more than 4 lawyers at the same time. So that is what has made up for the current composition. Okay, great. I know you've also been interacting with Mr. Frank Davis and Amalaba, 2 lawyers representing 2 sides, John Mahama and Akufo-Addo. What have they been telling you? And so Mr. Davis says that, I mean, it's good the court has decided on the issues related to the mistake, and that allows for the case to progress. And so that is where they are now. They are going to comply with the directive of the court to file the amended responses. Then afterwards, the case will proceed on Tuesday. They have drawn the court's attention to their desire to raise an initial objection, and so they'll be carrying out that as well. You also spoke to Mr. Abraham Amalaba from John Dramani Mahama's legal team. What did he say? Yes, he insists that as far as they are concerned, the court has agreed with their position that the correction they were seeking to make is not a substantive issue, and so it was appropriately granted, and so that should leave them to be able to file the amended petition by close of day today, as the court has directed that it be done. Just so I can summarize, if I heard correctly, the NDC's request for amendment in terms of the errors that it made in one of the reliefs, that request has been granted. This may also mean that President Akufo-Addo will also have to make some amendment, and the court has asked that it does so by 4 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, correct? That is so. because of the changes that Mr. Mohammed's team are being allowed to make, it will mean that in terms of the responses that have been filed already, they may have also followed that procedure and responding to it. So the mistake would have also reflected in theirs. And so that's why the court is saying that, okay, if that's the case, then you should equally file your amended responses as well.
And then, Joseph, just one more thing. The 19th date that has been given for the pre-trial to begin. Explain what you're learning on that. What exactly will happen on Tuesday?
So on Tuesday is the pre-trial issues that they are coming to deal with. And so what will be happening on that day is that they will come and argue out in terms of the issues relating to how the trial should progress. And so one of the issues that will be dealt with will be about how to, whether to deal with the objection at this stage or to wait and deal with that later on. So that is the first issue that they will be dealing with. And once they are done with that particular issue, then they will deal with the issues about how the trial should progress. And so what documents should be made available? Are they already available? How many witnesses should be called? And what should happen thereafter? And so those are the matters that the court will be dealing with.
Also, preliminary objections that we know, if you look at the responses from the Electoral Commission and President Akufo-Addo, did the court touch on that? When would those also be heard?
No, the court did not touch on that. We understand all these are matters that once they come before the court on Tuesday, the court will also have to address that particular issue and decide when they will deal with those matters as well. And so for now, we do not have any date as to when that preliminary objection will be taken.
Are we to expect a live telecast each day the court sits?
That is the indication that we are getting. The CJ actually made a point that the court had on its own decided to allow for the live broadcast of this particular petition. And so what it will mean is that on the various days, unless the court so decides on a particular day not to allow coverage, there's supposed to be media coverage.
All right, Joseph Akable, we will leave it here. Joseph Akable reporting live from the Supreme Court on this election 2020 petition filed by John Dramani Mahama, who was candidate in the 2020 presidential elections. Just to summarize a bit of what Joseph has been sharing with us. First of all, the main issue today was for an amendment of an error, a motion that was filed by John Dramani Mahama's lawyers. The court has granted that. It says that mistakes are bound to happen once we're humans, so it's gone ahead to grant that. And they have by 4 p.m. today to make that amendment. This would also mean that necessarily probably require that Akufo-Addo and the Electoral Commission will also make amendments, and the court has given them up to Friday to do that. There's the pre-trial that Joseph Akable explains will begin next Tuesday, 19th of January. And as you know by now, of course, the live telecast of the proceedings has also been granted by the court. One more thing, there's the composition of the court that Joseph Akable explains. It's a 7-member panel. The Chief Justice Enim Yeboah is on that panel himself. There's Justice Yawapel, there's Justice Mafosang, Justice Nene Amegache, Justice Kote, Mariama Owusu, and Gertrude Tokono. And that's the 7-member panel. And I guess in the course of the day and the discussions, the analysis that will come up, we will begin to hear, for instance, that out of the 7, 6 were appointed by President Akufo-Addo. He appointed, of course, Justice Enim Yeboah as the Chief Justice. Only 2 of the current judges at the court were appointed by, if you like, an NDC president or somebody coming, from now, I guess, the opposition. So there will be more analysis of what has played out in the courts. And of course, the lawyer you see in your shorts is part of the NDC's legal team. He's actually leading not the NDC, I beg your pardon, John Dramani Mahama's team. That's Chachi Chikata. There's also Tony Litter on his side. On the side of Akufo-Addo, there's Akoto Ampao. Okay, I guess I mixed the two. Was Akoto Ampao in our shorts and not Chachi Chikata. Akoto Ampao is lead lawyer on President Akufo-Addo's side, and there's Justin Amenuvo representing the Electoral Commission. So what we've been waiting for just started today. This is JoyNews Desk, of course, here on your election headquarters. Stay with us. We have more coming up right after this.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The sharp rise in prices of food commodities for the last quarter of 2020 is responsible for government's inability to meet a single-digit inflation target for the end of that year. Now, this is despite the significant growth recorded in the agri sector during the period. Food prices for the second consecutive time have been the main driver for the inflation rate of November and the 10.4% recorded in December 2020, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. Head of Finance at the Valley View University, Dr. Williams Pepra, says this is more reason why government must cut down on food imports.
This particular issue of price increase is triggered by the food basket, which is a little bit of a challenge because we were hoping that our local food produced locally will help us to reduce inflation. But if you look at what the statistician said, the inflation is triggered high by our food prices. We see that in the coming years is going to be an issue which government needs to work on, especially with its policy on trying to make sure that we produce or grow food within the country and then be able to eat them. We should try to reduce a lot of importation of food because most of the food prices going up, they were triggered by food products that were imported into the country.
All right, let's move on to the next story for this morning. International ratings agency Moody's has completed the periodic review of a group of issuers, including Ghana, but the review is not an indication of whether or not a credit rating action is likely in the near future. Charles Nexin-Yabua has details.
Moody's said the credit profile of Ghana reflects economic strength which balances strong growth potential against small-scale and low but growing wealth levels. It further said the institutions and governance strength reflect an improved fiscal governance framework balanced by recurring revenue underperformance against budgeted targets. It expressed concern about the elevated debt burden in addition to the prospect of further contingent liabilities or possible obligation materializing in the energy sector whose debt is close to $1 billion. The US-based international ratings agency also highlighted the country's exposure to international capital flow reversals leading to exchange rate instability and high borrowing costs. Ghana may head to the Eurobond market to raise between $3 to $5 billion in March this year, but that will be dependent on market conditions as the coronavirus still lingers on. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic in April last year, Moody's downgraded Ghana's economic outlook to negative from positive. It, however, affirmed Ghana's long-term local and foreign currency issuer and foreign currency senior unsecured bond ratings at B3. This meant the nation could borrow with little risk on the international market.
Well, finally, for this segment, uncertainty is characterizing the price of crude oil on the international market, and it's not certain whether it will go beyond the projected average of $45 a barrel this year. The price of Brent crude is hovering around $55 on the international market. Now, we don't know what is triggering this, whether it is a demand going up that is pushing up the prices, but crude oil has significant implication on the economy through export revenue for the government. But that could also push up prices of certain services like transport if prices should go up. Kojo Poku is the Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Policy Research. He has been monitoring the markets.
The International Energy Information Bureau puts the crude oil price at $45 a barrel. Goldman Sachs is a bit more bullish, and they forecast around $53 a barrel. There is a lot of uncertainties going into 2021. See, Europe has gone back into lockdown. There is vaccine, but the vaccine will take a good 6 to 8 months for maybe half or a quarter of the population of Europe and America to have the vaccine. What we are hearing is that the vaccine might only last for 6 months. So there's a lot of uncertainties. We might get to some sort of normalcy at the end of 2021, which means that the economies will start picking up at the end of 2021 and 2022. So we don't think that there's going to be big industrial activities in the Asia and America. So the demand for oil will go up for the prices to go up. So for our forecast, I think we want to go more with the International Energy Bureau on the $45 a barrel.
And that's your business update for now. The news continues after this break.